exchange the currency, nothing that has to do with the heart of the operations themselves in Africa. It's never squared, something more diffuse, often intermixed, never cut away. It's a plural vision. We don't do anything by ourselves. We always do things with others. We do it for ourselves, but also for others. So we do feel very close to social and solidarity economy. It is more focused on community aspects because cooperative movement was developed very early on in our continent. It was already in our ancestral practices, in our community, as a group, building our own house and then building someone else's house all together, paying someone's medicine studies together, and then later all together paying someone else's studies, and then looking after the elderly. All the cooperatives that we have and have their own structure. There are other aspects in our culture as well that naturally lead us towards other movements of transformation. We need to protect nature and its riches, its wealth, and let its knowledge live. I can quote the case of pharmacopée, the medicines of natural health, very well known and prestigious in Africa, which makes us think about not only health, but also the protection of environment, the protection of autochthonous peoples. Parallelly to our culture, the vulnerable groups, which must not be left aside, people that tradition have left, put aside, outside of justice. And then we are interested in the movements which have to do with human rights, so that everybody can enjoy the fruit of growth. Beyond these different approaches or economical movements, interlinked, or the different aspects of our culture, of which I've given you a few examples, the networks of social and solidarity economy in the African continent, the network called RAES, is playing a role of promoting other dynamics, or you can call them movements as you like. This is not the most important thing. In Cameroon, for example, the social economical network supported a network of health associations and organizations defending solidarity and social economy. And the president of this organization is here with us today. And also the youth movement in getting involved in the social and solidarity economy. This evolution of natural convergence is what is going to lead us straight to victory, fighting against poverty and promoting long-lasting development. Being here in Barcelona is the opportunity of participating, even just in our own little way, to the history of transformation of Africa. And for us, this is important. It counts. It makes a difference. So thank you to all of you who are here today.
Et le mois prochain, on va qui est
Vale. Arratsaldeon.
Arracha Leon, hello. I'm going to present a woman. I'm going to introduce a feminist woman
Vasca. Tiene una hija,
in a
tiene
left-wing
un hijo,
movement. She's got
tiene un
a son,
compañero
a
que son
daughter,
como ella,
and
son
a
tremendamente
partner
comprometidos y
who, like
comprometidas
her,
con el
is
cambio social
tremendously
y
committed
político,
to social and
y es
political
profesora
change.
de
She is
universidad,
a
pero
professor
sobre todo
in
le encanta la
university, but she
universidad
mostly
que
likes
construye
the
conocimiento
university
desde la
that
acción
builds
y con otros y con
knowledge through
otras,
action, and
conocimiento
together with
colectivo para
others, collective
transformar la
knowledge
sociedad.
for the transformation
Ella
of
es
society.
presidenta de REAS
She's the
Euskadi,
president of RAS
y por
Euskadi,
eso
the
es
Basque
mi jefa,
country, and this is why she's my
pero sobre
boss.
todo es
But most of, above
militante
all, she
de la
is an
economía
activist
social y
for social and
solidaria, de la
solidarity
economía feminista,
economy,
y es su
feminist
amiga.
economy,
Es
and she's my
Marianne.
friend. Her name is Marianne. REAS,
Red de Redes de Economía Alternativa
Network of Networks
es una
of
red que
Alternative and
nació en
Solidarity Economy,
1995 y
was
que agrupa actualmente a 14
founded in
redes
1995, is
territoriales y
made up
4
of
redes sectoriales.
14
En su conjunto,
territorial
estamos
networks and
hablando de
4
más de
sectorial
500 empresas y
entities. We're talking
en
about
las que
more than
participan
100 entities where
más de
professional
20.000
participate,
personas
more than
y que además
8,000
ha sido
people.
capaz de
Moreover,
generar
it has been
militancia y
able to
compromiso
generate commitment,
reunir a
activism,
más de 30.000 personas
putting together
voluntarias
more than
que
1,000
contribuyen a
volunteers
este proyecto de
contributing to this
construcción de
project of
economía solidaria.
building a solidarity
A estas
economy.
cifras tendríamos
These
que añadirles
numbers
las miles de personas y organizaciones
are
que están asociadas a
should be added to the numbers of volunteers who are in cooperative
cerca de 10.000,
projects, about 10,000 in ethical finances, renewable energies, more than 10,000 in eco-agriculture in local consumption groups, which I mean to say that we are a broad network of people and entities building this alternative and solidarity economy, trying to transform this world, and it is possible to do it. We are doing it deploying our activities of solidarity economy throughout all the economic circuits where we need people. We need this in order to live a life with dignity. We want to be a real alternative to capitalism. This is why our companies and organizations are present in the cooperative production sectors, agroecology, or recycling, or care, the care of people, social intervention, communication and free culture. We are developing social markets, short trade circuits, food sovereignty, and promoting these other exchanges, non-monetized ones, social currency, exchange systems, time banks. We are defending a critical consumption, an aware, transformative consumption, an ethic of sustainability, all of it so that we can cover our real needs, not the needs generated and imposed by the capitalist market. We want to build all together a new model of development which will be more fair, participative, humans with solidarity, sustainable and more feminist, based on values such as care, community, commitment with people, self-management, mutual help and collaboration. We don't want to build this alone in our network, but in alliance with other transformative economies and other social movements of denouncing resistance, criticism. We want to keep on weaving networks beyond our networks. We've been working in this for many years within the solidarity economy, and we have the feminist economies and the ecological economies which are contributing to this new model as well. And we are interweaving with other transformative economies, and we are initiating convergence movements with them. This has led us to incorporate in our discourse, in our principles, and in our practices as an organization the paradigm of sustainability
Necesitamos
of life.
reconocer que nuestras vidas son ecodependientes e interdependientes y debemos reconocer que esas dos dependencias materiales visibilizadas por el ecofeminismo deben estar presentes en la construcción de la economía solidaria. Solo así conseguiremos avanzar en la construcción de ese modelo que queremos de producción, de distribución y consumo, de manera que la vida humana y la vida natural estén en el centro y que consigamos crear una economía alternativa al servicio de las personas y al servicio del planeta. De ahí que ya desde hace algunos años estamos afirmando que la economía solo será solidaria si es feminista y que hayamos desplegado en nuestras redes y en nuestras organizaciones
So we have deployed in our networks work lines so that also our companies and organizations will be feminist. How? Eliminating gender inequalities in their structures, in their decision-making processes, in their culture and strategies, in their working systems. We believe that it is important to build a common agenda together with other movements of transformative economies which are present here today. We believe that we must keep on weaving these networks in order to transform economy, in order to transform our lives. Hello. I am to present, to introduce someone I met a few years ago. I met her when she was a teacher, my teacher, but then we became colleagues, the fight for food sovereignty. I could tell you about everything that she does, but I wouldn't have time for it, not even in 2 hours. I can sum it up by saying that she's an activist for food sovereignty and agroecology, and as such, she understands that food sovereignty and agroecology are about visibilizing many parts of our world that are not visible to many people, how we feed ourselves, what we feed ourselves of, and the health of the planet and the health of people. And from this perspective, for her and for many others, it is impossible to separate feminism from food sovereignty. Either they go together or they can't be thought any other way. So this is what I call the peasantization movement. Becoming more peasants and becoming more feminist. Can I sit down? No? Oh, hello. From the agroecology movements for food sovereignty, we know, as Isa said, that food sovereignty cannot go without feminism, without bearing in mind that the exploitation of people and the accumulation of wealth is totally incompatible with it. Food sovereignty and feminism have to be in a framework of feminist economy and social and solidarity economy. We cannot build food sovereignty without this look. The feminist look in agroecology reminds us that the sustainability of life and putting life at the center is the objective, because the earth and the seeds are non-productive resources, but rather reproductive resources necessary to guarantee the continuity of life. Agroecology in practice, however, we know that today in the Spanish context it is not feminist. We are in Catalonia, but we can also apply this to the Spanish territory. Women are there because they are in a capitalist economy and they need to adapt many strategies where processes and emotions are not taken into account, and this is not taking a feministic approach. Conflicts are often a death sentence of many agroecologic projects because of the non-economic feasibility. Beyond this, about our own organization of time, the time we invest in productivity, how do we measure our productive time in agroecology, in social and solidarity economy, and in agroecology and feminist economy? Do we apply the same patterns that we use in traditional economy, where we work from Monday to Friday and we rest in the weekends and we work for a determined number of hours? There's a confluence of these three axes of this preparatory forum. What I would like to ask is, can we have feminism without agroecology and without social and solidarity economy? In this part of the world, these movements have a very urban profile. There are tensions and conflicts which are not being resolved. The urban world is not the same as the rural world. There are differences between these two environments. 25th of March, the Catalan collective Ramaderas.can, an agroecologic group of women peasants and women farmers, published an article of which I selected a few paragraphs that I thought was interesting that I could share with you. We feel excluded from this fight. Every day, we are receiving messages accusing us of our non-real feminism or not good feminism because we are not being specifically anti-species. We want to manifest this 8th of March that besides being a feminist, the feminist must be anti-species. Defining this idea without reflecting means excluding the anti-feminist fight from the rural environment and the feminist fights that are linked to it. Feminist movements are filling their mouths with anti-capitalism and anti-globalization words. However, we don't know even what food sovereignty is. The vegan model proposed by anti-species is only producing vegetable produce in the local, exporting where it's needed, without bearing in mind our territory and the people who live in that territory. Food sovereignty brings a rural vision, a community vision, values that are necessary to overcome individualism, so typical of capitalism. Some urban feminisms don't overcome this. So how do we build a feminist food sovereignty? How do we build a feminist with an outlook of food sovereignty?
amiga de esta lucha. Y así, ella también nos llega un mensaje y comentario acusándonos de que nuestro feminismo no es real o no es de luego. Y sentimos incluidos de esta lucha. Y sentimos incluidos de esta lucha. Y sentimos incluidos de esta lucha.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing you to Monica Garriga, who is someone I met firstly through the internet, and she was a great discovery, and I was very interested in what she was doing because she was documenting the experiences of social movements in Catalonia, more concretely in Barcelona. And after that, I invited Monica to participate in several workshops, and we were able to publish work together, and I'm very happy to have her with us today to talk to us about the Pro Commons. It's an honor to have you here.
Bueno, estos días,
Well,
hablando con las
these
compañeras
days,
del movimiento Procomún
speaking
del
with
foro,
my
que nos
sisters and
hemos ido
brothers from
reuniendo en
the Pro
Barcelona,
Commons
mirando de consensuar una
thematic
presentación
axis,
coral,
trying to put
decíamos,
together a
¿cómo vamos a
presentation, we were
transmitirles
wondering
lo que hemos venido
how could
hablando
we
en los últimos
transmit
meses?
the outcomes
Miremos
of
de no
our
dar la chapa con un
discussions
contenido
of the recent
demasiado
months
pedagógico y académico.
to the audience. Let's try not coming up with a too academic speech. And then I thought, okay, how am I going to explain to my family and friends what Pro Commons are? I say these are resilient forms of taking care of natural resources in a sustainable way that have been essential for communities right up to the 18th century in Europe. And despite the eradication of these pro-commons, they remain in the fringes, and in indigenous and rebel slave communities in Africa, Asia, and Australasia. Ultimately, I'm telling you about the model used by our ancestors when they went to the take water from the fountain, washed their clothes together in the public wash house, or bake their bread in the shared oven. And when I tell them about this, they look at me with eyes wide open. Other times I explain it as a paradigm that places the focus on sharing rather than on the market. And they say, sharing? You're talking of projects that are based on sharing? How are these projects viable? They ask me. Where is the business there? How are they going to increase their sales to get a greater market quota and attract more investment like startups do? Startups that are then successful and are purchased by large corporations. What do those working in the Pro Commons live off? They all have a mortgage to pay, they have families, they have only worry is to make it to the end of the month. It's by earning money. You're just tricked. But now with the deployment of the internet, we are seeing the surge of practices such as the collective management or taking care of our common spaces, which Elinor Ostrom, who's a Nobel Economics Prize in 2009, he had already identified this by studying traditional practices in many communities in the world. And we see that these practices are once again threatened.